Okay, I'm going to try an impromptu test here of something that I've been thinking about for the past couple days after doing a lightning bolt, and that's mix and matching some foil here in a lightning bolt mirror card construction. Okay, I don't know how this is going to work, but let's see how it goes. This is going to be a really quick scene if it comes together as I hoped. Okay. All right, so this is going to look roughly like this. All right, and I'm thinking about a kind of a time-lapse type of scenario here with my lightning bolts. Like I said, I don't know how this is going to come out. And I laugh because I never do. I never know exactly how these are going to come out, but especially when I'm just kind of playing around with something for the first time and have like no idea, okay? Literally. All right, so this is going to be flanking this bolt on both sides. Let's see, it's going to go like that and like that. I'm blocking out where these bolts are going to be going in here. Hello, Jeline! Hello, Kay! Hello, Beth! This is like a regular thing I guess we're having here. I'm hitting go live these days if I just want to play around and test something out. I figured, you know, you can join in on the laboratory experiments if anyone's around. So this is going to look like this and this. I shouldn't say it's going to look like. It's going to be positioned there, I should say. So let's see how this goes here, okay? So if you haven't seen me do one of these foil scenes, I'm blocking out some areas here because if I stamp them out and I put the white over the top of it, the white's going to be over the black right here, but I need these bolts to somewhat stand out of the background. So anything you want to kind of stand out, you block out beforehand and you just stamp right over the top of it. Otherwise you're stamping black over a top of a dark surface and you're not going to be able to see anything. So that's how everything kind of goes in theory. In application, it's always kind of a mystery, especially if you're working in a kind of a little bit of a different combination. So here's my theory here. Okay, I'm going to stamp this out in black over the top of that. Those aren't going to really stand out too much, so I'm going to bring it out a little bit more with this. But I want to use some of my StazOn inks too. I would use my white StazOn for this part, but there's just no way. As soon as you tap it down, it's like a permanent fixed impression with your cotton ball, and it's completely dry. And there's no kind of blending of that type of ink. So I'm gonna see how much I can get, how much StazOn I can utilize on this whatever scenario here, and see if it comes out really at all. I don't know, but I don't know. I thought about this scenario here of red foil over gold like this, all right, and it's going to be all about that reflection down here. I'm working half page too because I wanted it a little bit bigger, but it's a lot of area to fill in, so it remains to be seen. Hey, sometimes I start these things and you know, I might go into some things thinking it probably won't work, or it just won't work very well, but I'll just do it anyway. You know, we might as well do things like that, right? It's just fun stuff. Needless to say, this is not a kind of a instructional video, unless it comes out okay. All right, so that is that. That's Brilliance ink, so it'll heat set on here. All right. Hello, Rose. Good to see ya. I don't like using heat setting on foils too much because it bows so much like that. But then you just kind of counter bow. Hello, Beverly. Thanks for joining in. Great to see you as always. If anyone else is on, thanks for checking out the experiment, the laboratory here. We'll see how this goes here. Now, if this works out, it should be, I don't know, a pretty easy technique here, because I'm going to try to stick with as much stays on as I can, which won't require heat setting and spray sealing when complete, etc. I'm going to try to stick with the stays on all on the bottom portion. I've never used this one before, the stays on pigment. It's called Snowflake, and I just did a test print of it down here, and I don't know, it seems to work just fine. I don't know if anyone has that, or if anyone has it and used it. Maybe that's the more important thing. But let's see just how it goes, okay? All right, so I have this kind of diffusion and blocking out of some of the foil here. And I don't know if it's going to be light enough, okay? Let's see. I guess I could apply some ink over the top of it if need be. But let's just see how this goes. I might have to do a little bit of toning around because I'm going to stamp these out in black, and I'm going to see if they integrate okay. So, let's see. I'm trying to decide if I want a little diffusion down here. I'm going to put some trees in here, and I'm just not quite sure if they're going to be dark enough against this background. I might want a little bit of tone back there. Let's apply a little bit of tone just for... just so they stand out a little bit more. Whatever trees, you know, whatever thing you put down there, Lakeside Cove would be a good one. But just a little bit of this fogging out right here, okay? My camera has a little bit of a hard time kind of focusing in on here because I'm kind of basically focusing in on a mirror here, so sorry about that. This red foil is another one of those packs by the something boutique. I already forgot the name of it. Craft Boutique or something like that. Quite a few sheets for, relatively speaking, not too much. Okay, it's like 60 sheets for, like, this one was like $15 or something like that. Full size 8.5 by 11. Now, what you're gonna do with, you know, 60 sheets of, you know, red foil over the course of a lifetime, I don't know. Even for me, but I've seen other places where this real kind of mirrored out type of foil is really quite expensive. Sometimes it's like $1 a sheet or something like that, which I would never get, and I would never feel comfortable about kind of just free form, you know, experimentation on, you know, something that was like $1 a sheet like that. But when it's like this, you know. Okay, careful with your heat setting on foils. You don't want it to kind of melt the surface there. The experiment is going to be mix and matching some foils like this, okay? And it's going to be with a lot of stays on too. So I need to see if this is one, if there's going to be enough of a reflective quality in there once I stamp my imagery out. I need to see how this reads down here, and plus this is on the gold foil, so it's a little bit less reflective than a chromed one, which is more mirror-like, but this will have that kind of warmish tinge in there. So I'm looking up here at these pieces right here. I'm trying to, well, let's just see how these work out here. Okay, so these lightning bolts are going to go in here, and where I've blocked out with white, those bolts will read as that tone. They're not very bright, right? But what I'm going to do, in theory, is I'm going to go in and define maybe the, you know, some of the strongest bolts in this to bring it out a little bit more in terms of contrast, okay? All right, so let's see this. I haven't used StazOn. I think I used StazOn once before on this pad, okay? I just got this re-inker for it, but I don't remember ever using StazOn before. The last time I used it was on one of these live streams, so I don't know. Do you have to re-ink every time you use this because it dries so fast? I noticed that, see, all this is new to me. When I used it last time, it kind of stuck to the page because it dried so fast, and when I peeled it off, I think I actually might have peeled off a little bit of foil because it was like bonded almost, like a adhesive or something like that. Hello, Michelle! Okay, so let's give it a try here. I'm really more used to using the Brilliance pigment ink, you know, for my impressions on foil like this. So it's a thicker ink. Although, you know, like I said, I used the StazOn last time and it worked pretty good. But I had to kind of get the feel of it in a hurry because it was on a live stream, you know. And I thought, what the heck? This thing is sticking to it. But let's see. So this is the first time I've stamped StazOn on this kind of floating dry pigment ink on here. This pigment ink is, you know, I can remove it just with my finger like that, okay? So I don't know how this is going to adhere to this. But that being said, if it does work out okay, and I stamp it on here, I'm going to have to spray seal it probably because I'm guessing the StazOn, you know, is not going to penetrate this and grab onto the surface of the foil. It might, I don't know. I guess that's one of the experiments. Okay, so I did wipe off the perimeter of this. Now, let's see if I can get a good impression of this. Hello, Crazy Cat. Okay, that came out okay. All right. And just as suspected, my bolts, you know, they look really dark, so I'm going to have to really bring that out with some of the white acrylic paint pen. I'll use my extra fine one. All right, now my StazOn last time, I didn't have any problem cleaning that off. That has some of my dye-based ink on it still, but here's just water like this. Let me see if I can get it clean. Okay, so I don't know anything about StazOn Cleaner, okay? But that is as clean as this stamp's like been on a long time, because a lot of times I don't even clean my stamps, okay? But I don't know. If we need StazOn Cleaner, it doesn't seem that, you know, apparent to me, because that water just took it right off. I don't know. It could be the rubber or whatever, but I don't know. That looks fine to me. But that's what kind of prevented me from using StazOn a lot of times. Well, first of all, I don't like to clean out my stamps every time I use them. And I you know, we probably should with StazOn, right? But, I don't know. It cleans up just fine for me. Hello, Bugs! Okay, so let's see here. Let's go on. I wanted to have these, I thought about having these a little bit closer together. I guess I was, you know, registering it with the, a little bit more with the blocks in mind. I wanted this to be a little bit closer, so let's move that over a little bit, all right? And what I mean by that is let's just block out a little bit more in here. Okay. And what this is supposed to represent is it's supposed to represent like a time-lapse type of photography, you know, of a lightning storm, you know, where you get several different strikes you know, in one exposure. All right, so there's that. I think I need to heat set this with the stays on. I'm not sure. Maybe I can just go right over that wet application with the stays on, but I'm just drying it just, you know, I don't know, maybe to be safe. I started taking, it started changing the foil there. I was focusing my heat, just what I said, be careful to not do, but like I said, this is going to be the reflective area, so I don't think that'll matter too much. Or I don't think we'll be able to see it, but I started seeing that foil kind of, like this little thing start to move out like that, like it was changing the surface a little bit. All right, let's see here. All right. Let's go with the smaller one here. Now I could have done this on, you know, a cardstock or something like that. I just thought this might be faster and potentially more dynamic with the reflective foil. I'm not sure. It might be easier with cardstock, but definitely not quicker though. Okay. All right, so here we go with the StazOn. If you just joined in, I just did re-ink my StazOn pad to get a lot of ink on there. All right, actually that one, oh, I forgot to wipe off the side, so I didn't really need to, I guess. I'm trying to match that up roughly. I think I stamped this one a little bit closer, but oh well. Okay, so something like that. All right. We're really going to have to bring out a lot of the value on those bolts with the paint pen. Okay, let's see here. Let's go with... I wasn't going to do it, but let's go ahead and... Let's bring in the cloud cumulus. I think I need to employ that stamp to fill in my edges a little bit more. And then maybe I will bring in some extra tone, I'm not sure, with some additional brilliance ink that we can really spread around. Oh, okay, now here I need to remember this as a process. Before I go with the, if I do add some additional brilliance ink around here, I'm going to mount this first, just so that I don't get something all over the place. But that's how that's looking right now in terms of a reflective quality. We don't have any contrast, so it doesn't show up right yet. But let's see how this goes. Hello, Verna. Hello, Donna. Okay, let's see. Cloud cumulus, okay. This is so weird using the StazOn on here. Maybe not for you guys. Like I said, I haven't used the StazOn very much at all, you know. So I'm just unfamiliar with that entire solvent ink. Chemistry. I don't know. It doesn't feel any different, though, I guess, to a dye-based ink when making the impressions. It looks like it's almost dry on there, that first impression. I'm trying to remove as many of the kind of additional steps. That's what I'm always trying to do in my processes. Remove steps so that there's kind of a, you know, a narrower, you know, line to get to kind of the desired results. So it's always kind of refining things. And then after you refine things, then you go for variation. All right, so anyways, this is what's kind of going on here. It's kind of hard to see, I know, with the that reflective kind of aspect of the foil here. Okay, so I'm always kind of wiping off the cloud right around in this area because this area right in here is always kind of pointing towards my light. So these are going to be the light sources. So when I'm stamping it over here, instead of stamping it like that, which is representative of being top lit, it's being side lit, so you stamp it like that. Over here, this cloud was stamped this way because the lighting is coming from, you know, the right, okay? So here, on the right side, the lighting's coming from the left because it's going to be centered like that, okay? And overlap into your, you know, this cloud with lightning by quite a bit, like that. Okay, well, that wasn't quite a bit. Up here, it came into it about an inch or so. All right, and I'm going to have some trees down here, okay? So I think that will do it with that. All right. You're watching me clean a lot on this video because I don't want this StazOn to be sitting on my stamps for too long, right? I mean, we're supposed to clean them off right away. Has anyone used StazOn on clear stamps before? Hello, Barb! And why did they say not to use StazOn on clear stamps? Does it eat away at them or something like that? Or has anyone tried it and just, you know, it worked out fine, you just cleaned it off and, you know, it didn't do any harm to clear stamps? I've never really been, I don't know. I just heard you're not supposed to use it on there, solvent inks on clear stamps. I'm just kind of curious to know if has anyone tried that. And if you did, if it just worked out fine, if you just cleaned the stamp off quick enough. Okay, so that is that. There's a lot of grooves in this one, but like I said earlier, I find that cleaning these off... I'm cleaning off a lot of dye-based inks on here, too. Yes, StazOn with clear stamps. What does that mean there? Yes, you used it, or... yes, it was fine, or whatnot. I don't know these things. You guys are gonna have to fill me in on, what StazOn protocol. Okay, so I'm going to stamp some trees down here, all right? But I think it's better if I go in and add this in first, okay? Especially I have some trees over some of these bolts, right? So kind of background first and then foreground second. I guess, you know, because we're going with the StazOn, I assume the StazOn will stick to all of this. Over time, break down your... Okay, well, that's what I heard, too. Barb's never used it at all. It takes a couple times for me to get the coverage I like. Is that what the StazOn? Okay, so this is going to be... Okay, so I added a little bit of white pigment ink down here. All right, so I'm going to just cover that up so I don't just kind of remove all that. This area, this little haze down here with the pigment ink, that's white brilliance ink all throughout that area. That will just come right off with my hand. Like anytime I put my finger down there, it comes right off. Okay, so this being said, what I mentioned earlier is you're going to have to spray seal this when done. I wouldn't need to spray seal it if it was just the StazOn. The StazOn's going to be on there just fine, right? It's like a permanent ink, I guess. I haven't done it before, but that's what I'm assuming. But with that white brilliance, I mean, with the white StazOn, you can't blend it, so... You know, it's a trade-off here. You're just going to spray seal this when you're complete here. Okay, so yeah, use it with silicone and photopolymer. Silicone stamps, image is not good. Photopolymer looked okay. Oh, okay. Huh. All right, let's see here. All right, and so I need a lot of contrast. I like going with bolder... types of contrasts on these mirror cards, okay, but I tried a lightning bolt scene, and I don't know how long it's been, a month ago or something like that, few weeks ago, and I thought it looked okay. Okay, so I want some of these bolts to be nice and light because those types of things show up more. If you just joined in, I want these bolts to stand out in this mirror card mirror card construction here. Okay, so I tend to like a big like full moon, or you know, like a nice blue kind of white cloud sky up here to reflect down in the bottom portion, but we're going with something a little bit more dramatic, so that's where the experiment of this comes into play. All right, so that being said, I can only get so white with my Brilliance ink over the top of foil because it's not really opaque, but I wanted this kind of glow around my strikes here, so I knew I would have to go in here with this type of thing. All right, now this acrylic is writing over the top of the foil really good. I thought I could potentially run into problems with this, especially with that dry white pigment ink. I thought it might be going up into the tip, which happens sometimes, but luckily these acrylic paint pens, they're just designed to kind of draw on as many different surfaces as you can possibly think of. Glass, it's said to be able to dry on. So I don't know. This is a good thing here, so we don't have to worry about this, part of it. Now these really stand out, but I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll make some of these bolts kind of glow with some additional pigment ink so it'll blend in with that background kind of glow a little bit more. So you go white, and then you go black over the top of it, and then you go with the pen, and then you go back with some of that foundational white over the top of it to finish it off, and we'll see how that looks, for integration purposes, visual integration. I mean, we want this to stand out nice and dramatic, but we don't want it to just look, completely unrelated to the scene. All right, so I'm not hitting every single bolt. I flew into St. Louis one kind of afternoon, and I was driving over to Columbia, and I've never seen lightning like that in my life. Maybe because I was thinking because there was no mountains or hills, to obscure it, so it was like lightning from horizon to horizon, like with a single, strike. It was so amazing. Let's see. What paper am I using? This is red foil here. It's a really red mirrored foil. Actually, those bolts don't look too bad in terms of integration. Let's see. But do they show up down here? Yeah, they're showing up, yeah, decently. Not great, but like I said, I just want it to be, them to be visible. They should be a little bit more visible to once I stamp my trees in here, okay? And those will add some needed contrast against those lighter bolts. Stamp something dark next to them. It should make it look lighter by contrast here. Okay, so let's see. I'm not sure of what imagery I wanted to use in here yet. It's going to be it's going to represent like a flooded forest type of thing. So this is a big scene, so I'm going to go with some fairly bold trees in here. I'm trying to think if I need to stamp anything else out before I go in with the trees in here. I thought about some splatter painted Dr. Martin's in here, just to give it a little bit more of a dynamic nature to it, maybe. Um, let's go ahead and do that, okay? We don't know what something's going to look like until we actually do it. I mean, maybe if you've been working with something for so long, you can predict certain types of applications, but when things are new, you might as well just try it out. Sometimes, I don't know, I don't think that this application of this will ruin the scene if it doesn't look good, but it's a piece of, it's like a, I don't know, like a 10-cent piece of foil, and if it looks good, then you'll know for the future reference, right? Okay, so that being said, okay, so I was thinking about adding in some darker tones around that. Maybe I don't need to. Like I said, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible to remove out as many steps as, as we can for this process here. But we also want it to look, dynamic and whatnot, so let's give it a try here. Okay, so just a little bit of paint on the tip of a toothbrush like that. Really squeegee out a lot of it. Like this. This is kind of representing, kind of this reflective type of sediment in the air that's being illuminated in that, whatever half second of, illumination that's happening within a lightning strike. For me, on this card, I guess that's what it represents, but I just want it to look cool, right? All right, so anyway. And this little bit of texture in the background too, it might kind of be a good texture in the background for the images I stamp out down here to stand out a little bit more. Just because there's not very much contrast between this red foil and black. Like this looks black in here, right? But it's just because it's reflecting, all that different, the darkness. I guess in my room here, ceiling, whatever. Okay, I think that brought it to life a little bit more. So just remember that, splattering your scene can really bring it to life. All right, let me see. There was a question in there. Sorry. I saw a question with the foil. What color mirror paper did you start with? Oh, it's red. It's a red foil. It's like, just a blank red foil like this. And it's a real mirrored one. Not that you need to, you can go with any, you can go with purple or gold or whatever color you want. But I wanted to have it like a real red crimson-y type of, I wanted to see what this looks like. Paired with the foil like this, I'm kind of curious to know what that tone would look like this red over gold. So it's occurred to me fairly recently that kind of mixing and matching these foils, which never occurred to me before because I was just using the silver foil down here as much more of a mirrored, I don't know, whatever material, because it's like a mirror. It doesn't have a tone to it. But when I started throwing up some other kinds of colors reflecting down there, I thought, oh, that looks pretty good on there. So I'm going to try mixing and matching things. I think that this one, I don't think that you can go too dark with this one. Maybe you can, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can go with a blue, up down here or something like that, and a blue up here. I don't think that these things are going to reflect very much in there, So I think this has to be fairly light, like a silver gold. But again, I don't know, more experiments to come. Like, say, this red down. Well, here, let's see. So here's red on red, okay? Like that. See, there's not very much of a mirrored quality to this one because it's just so dark to begin with. So I'm not getting very much of a mirror. Now, if you had some kind of gigantic, like, big, huge white orb in there that represents like a big full moon, that'll show up down here just fine. But, that's not You know, for these lightning bolts like this, I think we have to go with a, you know, a silver mirror or gold like that. I don't know, you know, more experiments to come. Brilliant white in the clouds, I don't know. Well, it's already in the clouds, though, as a base thing like that, so. But I'm going to probably put brilliance over some of these strikes like that. I'm trying to keep this one as minimal as possible, without the need for additional methodology, you know, to make it a permanent card, i.e. spray sealing it a lot. I guess I already need to spray seal it in here. But the more ink that I apply down here, the more I would need to, material I would need to spray over the top of it to seal it off. So, I don't know. We'll just say, I don't know. I haven't decided on a lot of this stuff. We're just winging it here. All of you and I, we are just winging it here. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go with some of these in here. I think I need to go fairly bold, okay? So nothing too kind of thin, because I don't think it'll read down in the reflective area, maybe. It might. There's certain cards that are a lot more kind of... I have a lot more, I don't know, question marks than other ones, okay? If you know, if we're talking about something like glossy cardstock, I have that down pretty good. But like this red foil on gold, mirrored, formatting, the stays on ink. I plan on using some of the stays on pigment ink on here. I don't know. I'm sure all of you have used, you know, some of these things a lot more than me. First of all, like stays on for one. I don't even know how that. This is probably my 12th impression with stays on ink in my life. And I don't know, whatever. It was like 8 of them were on this page right here. I don't know, maybe 20. I don't know, you know? So I think I've used it in one live stream before and never before that, so. Okay, so let's see here. One thing I did learn with the stays on is to re-ink this before I start using it on here, because the last time, if you just joined in, I was mentioning that the last time I held it down for too long, and I lifted it up, and it was like glued onto the foil, so almost, oh my gosh, I did that. Did you see that? I did that massive slide like that with that. That's what I'm thinking of when I do the brilliance ink on there. You have to really be careful. So I got a really big smudgy like that. All right. It doesn't look too bad because it's black on really dark red. So I'll put like a nice crisp tree next to it. I'll try not to do that again. All right, here we go. My stays on foil technique. You got to watch that with foils, okay? Because it's a very non-porous surface and you're just squishing it down, that ink is not getting absorbed into the surface at all. Or I should say maybe more specifically, the moisture isn't getting absorbed. So it's all surface oriented and you're just kind of squishing it down into like a puddle of ink. So you got to watch out for that skewing like that. And because that's not brilliance ink, I don't think I can just wipe it off. Maybe you can. Maybe it's wet enough, but... that's what's one of the good things about brilliance ink. You can just wipe it right off. But, like I said, I want to go for quick permanence on this card, if possible. Okay, so see that splatter painting in the background? I think that texture is standing out against that background reasonably well, okay? Making those trees stand out a little bit more because you have a little bit more contrast in the background, even if it's in these little tiny dots like that. Some of those dots, okay, now some of those little, this is what I was wondering too, how good the stays on coverage is. I do have some of those dots kind of showing through these trees in here, but not too bad. The stays on is staining them so they don't look white through the black. They're more like a gray or something like that. Okay, so anyway, trees, row of trees, like so. Okay, cleaning off. As I mentioned, I don't have any problem so far. Oh, I'm going to use this again. Hold on. I haven't had any problem with the cleaning of the stays on ink, just with water. Okay, so let's get our bearings right here. Okay. Oh, look at that. That looks pretty good, I think. All right, so I'm going to put some additional trees down here, but that's reflecting pretty good in there, pretty strong in there. Okay, so I have these areas like this big area right here and this big area right here, you know, at the angle of viewing, all right? So I like to put like stronger kind of elements on here to frame off that surrounding area, like so, okay? All right. So I'll go with a really tall tree like that. Now, one of the things I do hope to kind of remove out of my processes, I mean, sometimes I have to put some brilliance ink down here if I'm going to do some blocking out of some rocks or something like that, or, you know, something that's open. But as far as these solid images go, if I don't have to spray seal this down here, all the better, because it stays much more mirrored looking, okay? Verna, you can't get any more basic than this in terms of, now, not this lightning one, but mirror cards. It's like all you're doing is just stamping with some things. Take a, instead of like the lightning bolt up here, stamp, you know, your Lakeside Cove or just some of these trees over the, like a photograph, and just paste it up there. There's no blending, it's just stamping of imagery. All right, I didn't get that in there very good. Let's fill that area in a little bit. Okay. Stamping on foils. I have my tape under here so it's not an even surface. All right, another tall one on the side. Remember where that reflection is going in there. All right. Let's see. Oh, hello. Who joined in there? Linda. Linda joined in. Hello, Don. All right. Oh, I skewed again, but not too bad. A little bit right here. It's a good thing that that's not a piece of white paper. I went like that, and then I was just pressing down, and then it moved on me. So yeah, like I said, just be careful about that. Be more careful than I am, apparently. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so there's my foreground like that. Not too bad in terms of a three-dimensional aspect of it. See, like, here's what I was kind of wondering, if I need to go around here and add in that kind of vignette. The vignette almost seems to be taking care of itself, though, just in terms of how much reflection is on there. See, it's like really red up there, but then when you hold up a piece of foil like that, the only thing that's kind of lighter is the areas that I blocked out. Okay, now here's the areas down here that I put in that little bit. If you just joined in, I put a little bit of white pigment ink back in here, so that tree line is standing out pretty decently. But again, do you see where that splatter painting came into play? It just added another kind of, I don't know, texture down there for those trees to stand out against. And of course, splatter painting is like one of the easiest techniques you can possibly do in here. And you don't see that splatter painting down in this area being reflected. Not that it would be bad, but it just, I don't know, it makes it a little bit more dynamic. It kind of brought that area to life, I think, too. All right, let's see if we can keep working on this. Forgive my cleaning here. I know not the most dynamic, but thing to watch. Here's my thing. Okay, I can wait to just clean these off after after the live stream. But I'll forget to, you know, and then this will be sitting out, you know, with that solvent ink drying on there, and I don't know, does it create a kind of a crust or anything like that on the surface? But anyways, that's just water, and that's the cleanest that stamp's been in a very long time, because you know, I don't stamp it out in a light green or anything like that. It's always like darker greens or blacks, so I just, you know, I don't know. I always heard stays on cleaner, okay? But I don't know, I tried water the last time and it worked fine, so I'm going to stick with that. Let's see. Marvy Blue malfunctioned. I got blue streaks all over it. What does that mean? Were you applying streaks, though? Okay, let's see. Froggy Fresh, if you ever run into those things, I always tell you folks, photograph and email those things to me, and I'll take a look and see what happened. Unless you know what happened. All right, let's see here. Leafless pine, okay. So I got my blurry, kind of smudgy type of thing. If I was to send that out to someone, I don't think they'd notice that. Unless they're someone that has a bunch of Stampscapes and they've been stamping that spruce tree forever and they're like analyzing this thing. I don't think it would be any big deal. But that being said, I see it too, and okay, now here's the thing. I need to be careful that I don't blur this one out, okay? Because I want something nice and crisp next to that kind of more smudgy, kind of blurred one out. We don't want it to go like this and go, oh, you know, with the impression here. So, I wouldn't call it precarious, but a little bit more kind of impression pressure and decisiveness, maybe, when making those impressions on foil, especially if you're using like the Brilliance ink, you know, which is more pigmenty and thicker, okay, because there's going to be much more of that substance than a thin type of solvent ink, okay? Because, again, these things aren't absorbing into the foils like that, okay? All right, I probably held that down for way too long with stays on. Okay, that looks pretty good there. Nice and crisp like that. So see, my blurry little kind of spruce underneath there. My skewed one, it's not really blurry, but it was skewed. I don't think we're nearly as aware of that anymore, if anyone ever would be anyway. But it happens, just go into these things. So when I taught my foil class, I just said, hey, you know, especially if they hadn't done it before, this is going to happen. Just kind of expect it going into it. Okay, so there's a couple crisp impressions. Look, now hopefully these things too, these trees like this, pine trees like that, will kind of be like the yin-yang type of thing with these lightning bolt strikes like that. Okay, so that's what we have right here. Hello, Linda. Linda, you're always talking about defeat here. Let's see. I made a couple of reflective using Michael's foil. Oh, because they're not as reflective, yeah. Okay, but anyways, there are those trees. See that tree right up against that bolt right there? All right, so we haven't refined all this area up here yet. It still needs to be addressed, probably, but I don't know. Coming along like that. I'm thinking about a quote in that water down there. All right, let's see. Stays on. I guess we need to put this stays on lid over the top of this, right? And seal that off. I need to get used to using quick drying solvent inks like that. One of the things with the Brilliance inks too, the Brilliance inks are a fast drying pigment ink. The StazOn, of course, is, you know, right? It's one of the faster drying inks out there. The thing that I had to get used to was with the Brilliance inks when I started using it, I was like re-inking that every time, you know, where I normally ink up my dye-based ink pads, even my black one, like once, I don't know, sometimes it's like, it seems like once every 3 weeks or a month or something like that. I was making water, my RV pad was exceedingly wet. Oh, yeah, I dropped I dropped it on my paper and tried to wipe it off, leaving blue streaks. Well, it's in water. You know, I recommend going with it, unless the blue streaks were like vertical as opposed to horizontal. The streaks would look really good in a horizontal type of application. But if you have blue streaks on there and they stand out too bold, and if you don't like them, then just make your water darker so that you decrease the contrast between those streaks and the background. A lot of times what people don't like seeing are marks that are a certain color on a white piece of paper or a very light one so far. So you just make things darker. I don't know, make it a nighttime scene. I use Distress ink to try to cover it up. Huh. Oh, Distress ink. I don't, what color of Distress ink? The wind from the storm makes the trees sway. I like that, Kay. It's like a, well, that is supposed to be a time-lapse photography scene right here. So, yeah, it was catching that, you know, over the course of a 30-second exposure like that to get all those bolts within that same exposure. Taking photographs of lightning used to be a lot trickier back in the days of film, too. These days with digital photography, it's so much easier. And then you can sandwich things digitally, too, you know, and get all those additional bolts into the thing. Back then, it was always trying to do it on film, and then you get all the surrounding areas kind of exposed, too. And then if you had the thing open, your lens open too long, it was, you know, it was easy to get it overexposed. Okay, let's see here. So let's go with some of the lightning bolts right here. And I'll try to illuminate maybe the main ones. Okay. All right, so you get a little bit of a glow with the brightest one, or the lightest one, I should say. And just from a textural standpoint, I just think it looks better. Okay, now Michelle, you were asking me if I was going to do some on the clouds. Maybe I'll illuminate some a little bit more, but one of the things is about this one, because it's a mirror card construction, I'm not just doing it for this. I want to make certain parts of it, it's the reflected part of it that I really want to stand out more. So I'll test it out and I'll see what this looks like in that reflected area. When I do these reflection cards, I think I'm looking at the reflection more than I do, you know, the main scene above, you know, that whatever body of water. I don't know what the viewer would be looking at, though. For me, I'm probably looking at, you know, that reflected area more just because, you know, it's kind of a novelty for me. where I've always done scenes in the past, but I haven't done those scenes where it was reflected in another surface before, so I don't know. That part is the big draw for me in this construction. Okay, so let's see here. I hadn't thought about this before, but is this stays on dry yet? I'm not used to being able to add anything over something that's been applied on foil, because I've typically been doing it with Brilliance ink, and again, Brilliance ink will just wipe right off until you spray seal it. Okay, let's see what these glowing strikes look like right now. Yeah, it comes out, it's a little bit more visible. So that white's showing a little bit more. See this right here? See those strikes right over here and here aren't, well, they're being covered up by a lot of trees, but that little extra touch in there. So, okay, so here's what I'm looking at right here. I always mentioned that these mirror cards, the reflection is mostly happening down here, because by the time you get up here, this is so much farther away. You know, we are not as aware of what's going on down there. Like that area down there is more blurred out, right, than those trees right up here, which have this much closer area. So that being said, I think I'm going to extend that glow of that light a little bit farther down that way. Okay, closer to the, you know, the connection point, the seam, I guess we can say there, right? All right, so okay, let's see. All right, so just going down a little bit longer with that one right there. I guess I could have taken that white and just gone right down there beyond the image, since we're just working with a pen anyway, but I don't know if I want to. Let's go a little bit farther down that way. All right. Let's get a little bit louder. I'm taking this area, you know, again, I'm taking this area louder than I would, visually louder than I would normally if this was the scene right here, but since it's got to be reflected. All right, so something like that. All right. We need something down in that water too. Okay, before I forget, let's add in some additional textures down this way. Let's go with, oh, did I already put it away? I need my little rocks. My tiny rocks. Stamp. Oh, here we go. Even better. Rocks and water. Okay. All right. I'm probably going to start using StazOn a little bit more than I have in the past. I don't know. I asked people this before, but some people didn't like StazOn here, right? And the only reason I'm saying that is because, like I said, some different types of surfaces out there like glossy cardstock that people are able to get wherever, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, or something like that. They're all a little bit of different chemistry. So sometimes when people stamp onto glossy cardstock with the, let's say, a black dye-based ink that they have, depending on the amount of surface coating for that glossy, they're getting a lot of smearing with, thicker types of dye-based inks or something like that. So sometimes, I just thought, okay, well, StazOn would, or a solvent ink should remedy that somewhat or completely. I'm not sure. But then you can't color StazOn though with alcohol inks, right? Because that'll smear. I don't know. There's just trade-offs like that. I don't know. I need to get it to where people can do whatever with any. A lot of people have StazOn already. At least the black StazOn pad in their supplies already. So, all right. So let's see here. All right. All right. As I'm stamping this out, I'm saying in my head, please don't smear this. Okay. Oh, see these things right here with the tack and peel? Don't lose that. That's what I'm always looking for. Okay, so that's the little rocks and water, and then I'm going to fill in with some additional texture here with the smaller version going off into the distance. My water here is going to represent kind of a little bit more of a shallow area right in here. All right, this is working out just like the Brilliance ink. I don't seem to have any kind of issues with the StazOn. I don't notice any kind of difference in terms of impression quality, especially with the smaller stamps like this, okay? All right, so a little bit more texture down there, like so. Let's see. Like that. Boy, that is a fairly loud visual there, like so. Okay, let's see. Let's go on. I really wanted to do another quote down here somewhere. This is such a big scene, too. It'd be better to have something kind of longer. This is such a small quote like that. I can throw it like there, though, or over here. Yeah, that might be a little bit. Let me see my. There's one. Let's see. Where's the colors of the spirit one? Nature always wears the colors. Okay, let me see. It's a little bit longer. I don't think this would be appropriate. In the woods we return to reason and faith. This scene right here would be a great one for, if I just had like a hand coming out of that water, it's like it'd have like an immediate change in a kind of emotional context. Can you imagine like the the creature of the Black Lagoon or something like that? All right, let me see. There is road. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll just go with my first. instinct on this one. Okay. This one is, in all things of nature, there is something of the marvelous, okay? Aristotle. Let's go with that. You know, when you add these quotes into a setting, it really changes. I don't know. Maybe it can change, but it can also really enhance kind of the emotional. Or I don't know. Maybe the context of the piece. Okay, let's see here. So if I stamp that right in here, I think that'll work out. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I should glue this down now first here. Let's go ahead and glue this down. I'm just not... Here's the thing I'm not used to doing. I'm not used to being able to work with this, but that stays on ink right in here. As dark as in sloppy, you know, thick coating, that is completely dry, you know, to the touch now down here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and glue this in. So red on gold. I think it's a, you know, interesting combination. Like I said, I'm just starting to do these gold foil things, and with certain types of color schemes, I think it works pretty good. And with these mirror card constructions, I'm going through a ton of these refills these days. Let's see, is that got it upside down? There we go. Okay. Right. I can't tell you how nice it is to be able to apply this tape here without having those wet impressions of those trees print down here come right off. So I don't know. I think working with the StazOn with these foils will be, for me, the standard ink, unless I have to do a lot of blending of tone with black. Like if I wanted to put a perimeter, a stronger vignette around the edge here with black, it's going to have to be the Brilliance ink, okay? You can't really blend with the StazOn on there. The StazOn is just going to dry instantly. Okay. See, I'm not too worried about that white that I applied in the Brilliance because it's underneath the, you know, the Brilliance impressions, so it's not the thing first and foremost on there, so I'm not sure if I got any of that off of there. Okay, now this area right here, I applied a lot more of that white over here before because, I don't know, I was a little bit off. This was originally going to go over here in that lighter area, so I might want to darken that up a little bit. I'm not sure. I don't think it needs to be, but maybe. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that gold down there really makes for a nice reflective quality. Like I said, it might not work with certain color schemes. Like I don't know what blue above gold would look like, but that warmth down there. So let me show you just what the, so this is the silver, okay? So this is what the silver would look like, okay? It's much more mirrored like that. It looks a little bit more sterile though, doesn't it? Like that. And this is the gold, like this. So you can see that tone. There's a much warmer red down there like that. So I don't know. I think the silver would work. It's more reflective though, but I don't know. It's just it's an option. Okay, let's see if I can get this stamped out. Well, I've never stamped out anything with this until today. I stamped out a little bird. Okay, I was going to say maybe this is dried up because I don't have a re-inker for this StazOn pigment here. All right. I need to see if there's enough ink on there, so let me do a test print on this one. All right. Now that really stands out against that background because it's on red, so pretty decent impression, I guess, with this stays on white pigment. Does anyone have stays on white here? Hello, Diana. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see here. Let's go over like this. Oh, this is really stuck. Look at this right here. I'm saying, please don't rip this foil as that came off. That adhered. So it's going on with that kind of drier surface like that. So let me see like this right here. White. Oh, okay, I see what's happening right here. That really stands out, like floating like that in that surface area like that. I need to bring in some of that white, reflect it. That's what this is. This needs some of this white light reflecting down in this area right in here on these objects to be reflecting that light. And also on these trees right here too. All right, let's give that a try here. Now that I talked about that hand, I almost want to do that. Where's that hand? Like this. Look at this. It'd be like Deliverance. Or look at this guy right here. It wouldn't really fit with that theme, though, you know. There's something of the marvelous. In all things of nature, there's something of the marvelous. It'd be kind of a joke, though. It'd be pretty cool. Ken Brown stamps of... this isn't even Rubber Stamps of America, if you're familiar with the Ken Brown stamps. This is Ken Brown stamps right here. And it's 19... I think that says 84 right there. That's going way back. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, I was saying I could probably, I might be able to illuminate some of this area down here, but maybe I don't want to do that because it would remove some of the reflective quality. I'm not sure. Let's see right here. Okay. Let's see. I'm probably being a little bit more careful than I need to be because I'm, like I said, I'm always used to being just touching something and all the ink kind of coming off on my hands when it was the Brilliance ink. But like I said, this stays on is really great in terms of an application for this. Again, I don't want to go too crazy with my reflective type of touches up here because I already have all of that white splatter painting, so it might kind of get a little bit overpowered, you know, with a texture up top like that if I do too much of this. So I'm just putting I'm reiterating that lighting on some of the branches facing the light so that it talks about it references the lighting direction, so it's always on the interior sides of these trees like this. Okay. All right, so let's see here. I need to clean off all of my smudgy fingerprints in here. All right, let me see here. All right, I'm going to make a tweak here with my Brilliance ink. This is a little bit too light out here. I want more attention brought down into here, so I am going to bring in some of that Brilliance ink. I have to spray seal this anyway up here, this portion, because it has that white pigment ink underneath there. So let me see. Glad you like it, Barb, Sandra. Back to body parts, huh? Let me see. What did I miss some things here? Oh, what's the difference between StazOn and Brilliance pigmenting? StazOn is a salt. Did anyone answer that for joy? It's a solvent ink. Brilliance is a pigment ink. Okay, solvent ink. Now, in regards to foils, the Brilliance lays on the surface of the foil and will dry with heat setting, or you can let it dry overnight or something like that, and it'll dry, but it'll be, you can lift it right off. The StazOn is more like, you know, printing out something with like a, you know, with like a Sharpie marker or something like that. Okay, it's permanent, and, you know, this, it's not coming off, you know, on my finger right here, but you see this white right here? Actually, this white right here, I was going to remove some of that, but speaking of this, Joy just reminded me here in describing this, I can just remove it like this, right? So see that right there? I'm removing off maybe too much. But see this, you know, that white ink is coming off, but I stamped out the cloud in the StazOn, so it's coming off here. So, okay, so anyways, this is the Brilliance ink like this. Okay, so that being said, this can be removed. So you spray seal this afterwards up here if you've used Brilliance ink, okay? So let me add some of this down here, like so. I'm adding a little bit too much. Look how thick that is. Okay. Remember, always make your process so much more, oh, I don't know, precarious if you use a lighter amount. I must have forgot I re-inked my pad here recently. So, okay, so see this right here? I'm just applying a very small amount of it. You can't really see with just one tap what's happening here. So through multiple applications, you can get whatever amount of transference of media that you want, okay? It's not like you take it away from something like calligraphy or something like that, where it's like, you know, once you lay that thing down, you know, brush calligraphy or something like that, that is it, right? It's all about kind of spontaneity and whatnot. Sorry about this. It's hard to photograph foil, and it's hard to grab the, you know, show this on a scene like this because my camera keeps compensating. It's like all this light coming off. Here, let me try to do this. I don't know. Yeah, let me just get through this here really fast. Okay, so adding a little bit of a vignette on here and darkening some of this white in here to bring more attention to the bolts, maybe. All right. Okay, let's see how this is going here now. All right, so there we have it like that. It's still, you know, we can use something in there in terms of a, I don't think it'd be a focal point. I think the focal point's still going to be those lightning bolts or something like that, but it wouldn't be bad to bring something in there. That red sky, though, in that gold foil like that, if you wanted to do, and now this is lightning bolts like this, but I mean, if you just had some streaks of black or something like that in here with some trees in the background, anyone know that that scene from like Gone with the Wind or something like that, you know, in that with that color scheme, you know, or something like that, or a cabin up here, you can stamp out a cabin in over at the top of red foil or something like that. It could represent something like a deep twilight type of thing. And then what you do, one of the things that's cool about these types of reflected things like this, where it reflects it in the water, if you do like the cabin with, you know, lakeside cabin or something like that, or just a cabin right up here, and then you take your white, and then in the windows, where are the, you know, in these windows like this, what you do is you take your white pen and you illuminate your cabin areas from the inside. So you take and you just white out those areas in there, and that would look really cool. Wouldn't that be cool? Right? Even in this scene right here, if there was this lightning over the top like that, you'd have those lightning bolts reflected down here. And if you had a cabin like this in there instead of those trees, I could have illuminated that, and it would be, I mean, the water side, it would be, you know, a little bit up from it, so the cabin's not like in the water, but you can have that, those lights from your structures being reflected in that water area, and that's really fun to do. It's what I like to do anyways, like in a scene, but I'm just thinking about it now in a mirrored type of situation like that. It should be really fun to do. But I don't know. I'm thinking of other possibilities between this red and this gold like this. I don't know. Can anyone think of something that would be cool? But I really like that color scheme down there. Maybe I shouldn't have put in so much of that texture down there. Sometimes I forget, if I haven't done these mirror cards in a while, sometimes kind of keeping it more simple is the better, because you can see the silhouettes of things a little bit more distinctly. But yeah, I tend to approach it the same way as I do with cards, you know, if I don't do these foils in a while, and it's like, okay, you know, don't do so much of whatever. But again, here's that thing, you know, when someone's opening up a card like this, you know, I think that's, I guess when they're opening up a card like this, one of the things they might see is they might see this area down here first, but it's really dynamic like that. And it's a way to kind of go three-dimensional without having to do any kind of three-dimensional types of applications of media or constructions of cards like that. I think this looks really three-dimensional like this, and plus you get that, whatever, that parallax going like this, you know, you have your kind of your point of whatever access, or is that it like that? But see, these things down here move more in that reflected area than these things in the background, so it just really looks, you know, pretty fun like that. And again, you know, for things like this, those sky types of elements like that being reflected down there, this probably would have been a little bit better if I kind of moved it down a little bit more, you know, so this thing would, like, you can have that lightning bolt kind of almost like touching this one. So little tweak, if you guys do this, put your lightning down a little bit more, you know, kind of closer to that area down there, I think. And I think that would have been really cool, having that area like that from the sky touch the reflection, or almost touch the reflection. Or you can put that little, put some figure down there, you know, that conjuring figure. All right, wouldn't this be cool too? You know, you can put this like figure like that in the background, reflected in that water. Wouldn't that be kind of neat for a, you know, kind of a cool thing like that? I don't know. There's all kinds of different things you can do with this kind of scenario here. So I think this red foil, I think it works pretty good with the gold foil like this. Foil on foil. Yeah. Give it a try, not afraid of color. Is there a very specific brand of foil? Well, Linda, I don't know if Linda's still here, but she used it with the, she did a foil piece. I don't know if Linda can get this foil, but these are the Recollections foils, okay? Now, let me see if I have a gold one here. Okay, but the Recollections foils, which I recommend for stamping on and whatnot, okay, they're really great. I don't know if they're really great in a mirrored situation, though, because they're not as reflective. Now, like I said, I don't have the silver and gold Recollections one. The Recollections one comes from Michaels, and they're just on this cheap kind of, I don't know, what do you call this? Like, it's like brown bag types of a surface, but now this one right here, I was just showing people what too much heat setting can do, but look at this, kind of that rainbowy kind of effect that you get from heat setting this brand of it. This brand's, it's Craft Boutique. I have a link to it on our website, and I'll put a link to it in the description section when I format this video and I list everything. But these ones, to me, now there might be a lot more. I think there's a lot more of this type of super mirrored surface. This one's like really chrome. But I bought my packs because it was the cheapest one out there, for one, per sheet, and I bought them from no, I just got on Amazon, Verna, but it was 60 full size, 8.5 by 11 by 8.5 by 11, 60 sheets, and the time I bought it, it was like $17, okay? Now, you're getting 60 sheets, and I don't know, that might be a lot of it, but if you like doing this, I bought it to, not really to stamp on, but to use it for things like matting, you know, cards and things like that. But then I started using the Brilliance inks on it, so I just, you know, started using the StazOn on this recently, so here's that first card that I did. I keep showing this one, I really love it, but look at that glow down there. Now this dulled out right here, so I need to spray seal this, and this is going to get so much richer, but look at that gold down there. So I was doing all my foil types of mirror cards with the silver, but I just tried it with the gold recently, and I think it looks really spectacular in gold like that for certain types of color schemes. So here's what gave me this idea. I did this piece right here. Like I said, it's really dulled out, okay? So you spray seal this, and this is going to look much richer. But that glowing area down there, this piece right here, gave me the idea of why don't we just start off with something this gold like this. So this is already kind of reflective and, you know, can vary in tone. I should try an Aurora Borealis type of thing with this, with just putting black streaks into this red paper like this. You know, so this kind of led to this right here, you know, and doing some tests. I mean, I need to do further tests, you know, with these things like this, but I don't know. It's always like one experiment kind of leads to another. Like I'm looking at this one right here. This should have been a little bit lower down, so on and so forth, you know. Less textures down here, you know. So I probably did a little bit too much, but if you don't do too much, you don't know when to kind of hold, you know, stop the next time. So kind of what I always recommend to people is go over, you know, what you think you might need, you know, or what might be ideal sometime. Go way overboard sometimes, okay? Because then, you know, you can always do less the next time around or something like that, or you know when to, you know, where the, you know, the ideal kind of, I don't know, stopping points are with other pieces, especially when you're dealing with new types of things. This would be a really awesome format for, like I said, a Halloween type of scenario right here. Like I said, Where that creature, the Black Lagoon, you know, coming out of the water down here. Can you imagine this right down here? Look at this. This would be like perfect right down here, wouldn't it? You know, like this. I don't know. I think that would be like really fun. Maybe instead of um, the pine trees, I would use my bayou stamps, you know, or something like that. But wouldn't that be fun like that? I wouldn't put that quote there. You know, it'd say like, I don't know, whatever, wish you were here instead, you know, or something like that. For the quotes, for the word stamp, you know. But, yeah. The Brilliance dry on foil cardstock. Yes, it does. But like I said, it'll wipe off, though, so you have to spray seal it. Like, I'm going to have to spray seal this up here. Or you can heat set it, too. Okay, so Brilliance inks are custom made to... They were made to dry on glossy cardstock. That was the main thrust of that, because other types of pigment inks won't dry on glossy cardstock, so they made it for that. So that being said, it dries on other types of surfaces, but you might have to spray seal it. No, you don't have to spray seal it to dry. You can heat set it to dry, or you can let it air dry. But you spray seal it to fix it to the surface area. But you know, standard spray sealing, spray painting types of process. Hit it with thin layers. You know, so I'm going to hit this, you know, from like, I'm going to cover up this bottom portion because this is all stays on down here. And I'm going to hit it maybe in a couple bursts, like spray, spray, spray from distance, and it'll lay down on that. Give it 10 seconds to dry. Hit it again a little bit, let it dry, and then, you know, you can give it an overall kind of spray or something like that, especially for this one right here. I'll do a spray sealing video on this too. I think I have a spray sealing. Actually, I do have a spray sealing. I have a spray sealing video of spray sealing. I think the majority of it, if not all of that video, was spray sealing Brilliance inks on foil. So, yeah. Hello, Sam Hawkins. Who was it that asked for a swamp? I don't remember. A swamp with lightning? Yeah, you could. Green swamp lightning. You know, it'd be cool if you do this top portion in green foil. Yeah, that'd be cool. I don't know. I guess, I don't know. Green foil reflected in the gold look good? I don't know, maybe. But like I said, I mostly use the silver foil, because the silver foil is going to be the most mirrored surface, right? So, but that gold isn't too bad. That gold is pretty reflective. So, I don't know. There's a lot more experimenting to do. Like I said, this one right here was a big experiment for me in terms of not only the surface combination, the red over gold, but it was the fact that I haven't really worked with the Stay-Ons before. Especially, this is the first time I've used this one. Okay. I need to be careful when using this one because, like I said, this is not inked up very well. So, when I was making that impression, I just need to lift the impression much faster because that thing dried on there and it kind of adhered to it, and I was worried that I was going to be delaminating the foil like that. So, swamp buzzards, yeah. Oh yeah, the diffusion up here. Are you talking about of the lightning? It needed that in terms of a little bit of an extra, I don't know, kind of a textural kind of a impact up there, having that kind of softer, kind of glowing light. And it also made the light seem much more kind of prominent too, I think. Especially when we're dealing with the reflected part of it in there. I don't know, it just stands out a little bit more. Like I said, I mean, that lightning, to me, in this type of scenario here, I think it looks pretty good, and I think it stands out enough. But if you just joined in, what I did was I stamped out that lightning stamp, but I did go back in and define those bolts more with this. Okay, now see this up here too? to me, this is like, it's way too loud and, I don't know, just busy, okay? But in the context of this area down here, you know, I tend to want to take this a little bit more extreme up here just because we need it to show down in here. So we're kind of looking at it. Like I said, for me, I tend to look down here as opposed to up here when I'm doing these mirror cards. My attention goes to this reflected area like that and that kind of three-dimensional part of it down there. So I don't know. I'm not looking up here too much. But again, that might be just me too, because I've done cards my, you know, whole whatever adult life like that, and I haven't been doing this part of it down here for a very long time. So I'm always gazing down in this area, and I just love the movement of that area like that in that water kind of reflected area like so. So I don't know. Yeah. But again, you know, I mean, if we did like, you know, like what I was getting at, I forgot what my main point here, but if you do like stronger things like a, you know, like a full moon, or if this was just clouds in the background or something like that, and you have the trees down here, this is a really simple thing to do. You can print out photographs of clouds. This would be awesome. Just in clouds up here, photographing clouds, and you just do this tree line down here. And that is an easy project, and just stamp these trees down here. That was my first mirrored type of construction card, or one of them that I did. I think it was the second one that I did. And it really makes for a really dynamic piece because of that reflected area down there. So, yeah. Not afraid of color. You do have the white stays on. So it's something that we have, but we might not have used before. And that was the same thing for me. I've only had it for about a year. And it worked really good like that. I don't know. I need to be careful about that. I need to be able, you know, I need to learn the time to make the impression and lift. So it's after I used that stays on for the first time, I think it was on this scene right here, when I stamped something in the, I think it was in this top portion. It might have been this impression right here. When I lifted it off, I pulled off a little bit of that, I think I pulled on, no, I think it was this portion right here. I think I pulled off a little bit of that glossy cardstock. It ripped it a little bit. You know, I didn't know about that, you know, that drying, you know, that quick drying kind of aspect of the, well, I knew about the quick drying. I didn't know about the adhesion portion of the, of that. But then someone mentioned that, you know, right here in the chat or something like that. They, you know, it stuck or something like that. Someone said, it was like, okay, that happened with me. So, yeah. So not afraid of color. Maybe it's time to open that. I don't know. You know, those quick drying types of solvent inks. I wonder if it's still wet, depending on when you bought it. Yeah. All right. So anyways, that is it for this experiment today. Like I said, I wanted to test this out. I wanted to test out that those lightning bolts. We were talking about lightning bolts with the stamped sketch video, and then I finished some of those off, and I don't know. Was that your order, Froggy? Is Froggy Fresh in here? Are you the one that ordered the two sizes of lightning? When I got done with that video, it was like someone put in an order for the two sizes of lightning. Then I thought, oh, I want to try this out right here with that, because I wanted to try the red on gold like that. But then when they saw those two lightnings, I thought, oh, that would be a really cool scenario potentially for this reflection type of card. So I just kind of put those together in my mind. And it looks pretty cool. With that red in there. I guess you can go any color you want up here, you know. Purple would be kind of interesting, right? Or something like that. Or someone mentioned green, you know, if you're used it with something like this. I just think this would look really cool. Now, if you stamp this over the top of foil, you're going to have to block this area out so that this person would stand out. Anytime you're doing some sort of outline design like that, see, these things really stand out here because they're all solid in silhouette. But if you stamp this over the top of a foil like this, right? See, this is reflecting all this tone in here. If this is black on this dark area like that, you're not going to be able to see it. So you want to put that white pigment ink, like I did up here, over your area like this and stamp that out. Don't go looking for this. You'll never be able to find it. I don't know. Some people have looked for it when I've used these kind of like discontinued stamps before, and it's like real, you know, it was hard to find like 20 years ago. I don't know if it, you know, yeah, I guess you can get lucky on something like this, but any type of outline design like that would be, you know, something to consider blocking out with that white pigment ink before you make the impression. Again, foils, you know, you might think of it like a silver foil as something light, but it's only, you know, light if it's reflecting light. It's reflecting, you know, like in my room right now, it's all dark up on the ceiling, so it's like, you know, that dark right here. And these are my lights right over my table right here. So think about that when you're doing open designs like that. All right. Let's see. Froggy Fresh blasted their stereo at 6 a.m. I don't know who would be mad about that. The campers were loud and were obnoxious at 4 in the morning. Oh, you were getting some payback. I didn't read that part. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I hate big, crowded campgrounds and the noise. I always learn to take earplugs with me. I always travel with earplugs these days. Several sets of them, so I don't forget. I always just keep those in my overnight bag. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So anyways, that is that. Look at that. See that? Look at that reflected light down in here in that gold, that red reflection of the red and gold like that. It seems like there's certain things that we can do with this too. Maybe this combination in the future to do like a sunset or something like that type of color scheme, you know, because I really like this thing going on, this dynamic like this right here, just picking up those colors like that from the light. Yeah. All right. So anyways, signing off. Annie, yeah, Annie, you have the, Annie, see, Annie, do you have, now, Annie, you have 110 or whatever sheets of gold. Annie ordered, can we say this right here, Annie? You ordered some of that gold, and it was a little bit of a different gold than, I don't know, from that link, I don't know, they were using some other type of gold, but I think the stays on there kind of remedies that. You should be able to stamp with that stays on ink on either of the gold packs like that. So, yeah. So anyways, yeah, fun stuff. Hope you like this piece right here. Like I said, this was more of an experiment too, so like a lot of it was, okay. Definitely not kind of an instructional video for that, but God, look at that three-dimensional thing. I love quotes like that floating on that water's surface like that. It would have been better to have a little bit of a longer quote to fill in this area because it's such a big card like this, but, and I went with this big one because I wanted to go with those three in a single scene like that, but oh, just fun stuff. You guys got to try these mirror card constructions like this. It's easy to do. It's just, you know, you just kind of fold out your card like that and just apply your mirrored surface down below like that and stamp whatever you want up top. Remember to kind of, you know, it's like I said, always, you know, it's like your chef, you know, and always put that thing up there. I was thinking about kind of tacking this on here, but then I wouldn't be able to stamp these, right on there. I'd have to block this area off, so I think it's better to keep this separate until you kind of get it, you know, most of the way done, and then glue it down on there so you won't have to worry about this part of it down here. But yeah. All right. What was that there, Sandra, with that Creature of the Black Lagoon? Goodbye, Cheryl. Annie, yeah, Annie, again, she bought the same brand, but it was, I don't know, there was something different on there. So when we were trying to apply the black pigment ink onto our foils in a class situation, it didn't adhere. But then she ordered another one again. It was fine. But if you use it for like the mirror card construction down here in this lower section, you don't need to worry about that. That other brand that was sent out to you should work just fine for that. You know, because we're not doing a bunch of ink applications on that area down there. All right, good night, Linda. Linda, we'll get you some of that mirrored cardstock up to you, or find you know, a source for that. But yeah, the cheapest one is that one from off Amazon. I don't know if it's on. It's probably not on Amazon Canada. So yeah, yeah. Winter Christmas scene. That'd be a good one. Have I done? I don't know if I've done a winter Christmassy type of mirror scene yet. This area down here could be ice. I probably wouldn't use the gold. I'd use the silver for that one. Silver and blue. Blue foil over a silver reflected area for like a frozen lake or something like that would be kind of cool, with a little cabin or something like that. With a, you can do, oh, instead of a white interior lighting, you know, something like that, you go with a yellow interior lighting, so it's like everything's cool in here. You do your splatter painting on here for snowfall, and then the only thing warm is that little interior lighting coming from a cabin or something like that. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? So maybe we'll do something like that. Christmas in July. All right. Black ice. Annie, you're doing that one. I don't know how to do that black ice. That's too advanced for me. That's too big. That's too big a technique for me. All right. Thanks. We need to get some sheets up to you, Linda. I'll send you some full sheets. You can do a 8.5 by 11. These, you know, these cards right here might be kind of better suited for slimline too, because it's not going so far up. So a lot of the reflected area will be in a much more condensed area. I'm not sure. Yeah. Oh, not afraid of color. I'll do it in July, and I'll say, do not watch this video until like October, whatever, you know, mid-October, or do not open until November. So I'll put a disclaimer on that video. You know, beware. Christmas, do not watch until, or something like that, you know. I'll put it in the description area for you. 4 a.m., my gosh. Teresa, have a good night's sleep. Don't get into don't get into dream debt. Yeah, that's it. All right. Good night, everyone. Have a good rest of evening. And again, thanks so much for joining in. If you're checking out the vid and just checking it out in the background, thanks to all of you for joining in as well. I really always appreciate it. That's right, not afraid of color. Christmas trigger alert. Yeah, I'll put it in a separate. I'll put it in a separate like playlist or something like that. You know. All right. Good night, everyone.